So good morning all. Head table, Chief Agricultural Officer, FAO Correspondent, Dr. Colleen Phillips, Agricultural Planner, Debbie Daniel, Mr. Providence, ladies and gentlemen, media, everybody, good morning. For those individuals listening online, for you too. So we're here this morning to look at drone technology in agriculture, basically. You may ask, why do we need drone technology in agriculture? We have all of these things happening already. We have done so much work without drone. Why do we need drone now? Is it a situation where everybody's going fancy and therefore we need to be fancy too? I would think not. If we totally examine the situation, we would acknowledge and accept that using drone technology in agriculture is especially significant at this point in time. Locally, especially. If we look around regionally, internationally, we would know that our agriculture is in trouble. CARICOM has this thing about feeding ourselves, reduction of imports 25% by the year 2025. But I wish to say, if we are not careful, we wouldn't have anything to import from anywhere because everybody is experiencing all of these problems. So how do we locally manage what we have to ensure that our people, Vincentians specifically, can eat properly, whether now 2025 and beyond? So drone technology as we know it, and the reason for which we're here today, would give us an opportunity to work with our farmers and fishers. It would allow us to monitor crops, that is, our stakeholders, our farmers and fishers. In the case of fisheries, to do all that underwater surveillance and monitoring for monitoring of livestock. I don't know how many of us are aware, but currently we are having tagging of our animals as a project going on. How do we properly monitor what is happening there? It gives us an opportunity to potentially solve the problems of field management. The thing is, if we can properly manage what we have, we are in a better position to administer, to make recommendations, to do better, to move forward. It should enhance our productivity, efficiency, and profitability. What else can we ask for? Because we know together these elements are going to improve our livelihoods, where we can do a lot more with less. It improves, give us a better opportunity at data gathering. And one of the things, if you're paying attention, you would hear, especially the agriculture minister talking about, is data gathering. We want to be in a position that we can make scientific decisions. Last week, we were at a conference and it dealt specifically with fisheries. And individuals are concerned about what we do and how we manage our fisheries. Now, if we are able to convince these people or show them data, scientific data, this is the livelihood of a deprived, depressed area within the state, that we're not just talking emotionally, but we have the evidence to show, we then would be in a better position to convince individuals that this is the way to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know that this promises to be an intense activity. I urge all of us who are present and who would be partaking in this activity to take it seriously. Because, ladies and gentlemen, there are individuals who are looking to us, dependent on what we do for the next couple of days to help to improve their livelihoods. We cannot for any reason take it for granted that because we know, other individuals also know. We have to suck in as much of this information that we would be in a better position to pass it on to those individuals who most need it. And if we are trying to involve our youth in agriculture, here is an excellent opportunity for encouragement. We know that these individuals, especially our youth, are fascinated with technology. And this might just be one of the ways that we can encourage some younger individuals to become involved in the whole process of agriculture and fisheries. It does not necessarily have to be, going forward, just the old-fashioned back-breaking work that we are accustomed to. So again, thank you for being here and all the best for the activity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Permanent Secretary Gittins Macmillan. At this time, I'll invite the FAO National Correspondent, Dr. Colleen Phillips, to bring us brief remarks.
Thank you, Chair. To the head table, PS, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, Fisheries, Rural Transformation, Industry and Labor, Ms. Nerissa Gittins Macmillan, our Chief Agriculture Officer, Mr. Renato Gams. Focal point on the project under which FAO is facilitating assistance and planner of agriculture, or the officer in charge of planning, the Ministry of Agriculture, Ms. Debbie Daniel, our Director of Forestry, other senior staff, trainees online, Ms. Kim Baldwin, Dr. Roberta Sandoval, and of course, Riser, colleagues. Everyone, pleasant good morning. It is with great pleasure that I stand here bringing to you greetings on behalf of the Sub-Regional Office of FAO, and in particular, Dr. Renata Clark, who has been very, very instrumental in ensuring that this particular intervention is had. I would tell you that all of this pretty much started with the eruption of the Soufriere, and it came to our attention that there was absolute need for enhancement of data. So the FAO is quite pleased to be facilitating and collaborating and assisting the Ministry of Agriculture as they embark upon the transformative process to enhance digitization and better data management as it pertains to the use of technology and in this particular case, the proper use of drones in terms of piloting and capture of data. The project under which this particular activity is facilitated is dubbed the Resilient Livelihood and Food Security through Data, Digitization, and Sectoral Linkages. As much as we try not to talk about projects and more so bring to the forefront the concept of programs and program development, it is important that within the structure of the organization, projects be named, and hence the reason why we bring this forth. In this particular project, we hope to improve data on hazards, risk, and vulnerability, and geospatial systems. We also hope that there will be a more robust digital data system, assessments, and registries on farms, fishers, and vulnerable households. As a third output, we are also hoping to improve linkages between agricultural and the social protection sector, which of course would not only reach the indigent pockets of St. Vincent in a more efficient manner, but would also ensure that we capture youths, women, and all other minority and vulnerable groups within the sector. It is believed that within, of course, we also know that we are hoping to embark upon the agriculture census. The Ministry of Agriculture hopes to embark upon the agriculture and fisheries census sometime in 2025. And we are sure that this technology, well, 2024, 2025, let's see how that works. But we are sure that this particular technology would facilitate the process. And it's really a pleasure and an honor on behalf of the rest of the team, Dr. Roberto Sandoval, who has been stalwart in ensuring that all of this was put together, and Riza Spencer and Conroy Huggins. We bid you success, a successful training session. Please make the best of Miss Kim Baldwin. She is excellent. She's an excellent professional, and she has a wealth of knowledge from which you can extract. So please reach out, ask questions, be proactive, and capture as much of this training as you possibly can. Again, from the FAO, we congratulate you on the endeavor, and we wish you all the best in this particular training. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Phillips. Well, those of you online will not be able to see this, but on my right, we have a display of the equipment that the participants here would be using for the training. We have 4 drones along with all the necessary supplies, which at this time we will formally hand over to Permanent Secretary Gittins Macmillan. Okay, so we're just having a little brief ceremonial handing over here. Sorry that you're not able to see all of it because we had some difficulties with the technology this morning. Okay, so we're just having a brief handing over of the equipment, after which
yeah, just have somebody take a pic there, please.
She's in there, goes. Chief, come on. Okay, go over there. Focal point where you're not here. Come in. You don't like video, you don't like picture. I know, man. Picture. Everybody's saying cheese. What is sausage we have? You know. Right. Get your both. Watch the cameras. Go on. Right, go ahead.
I'm gonna step back a bit then, please.
Sure. Okay, so thank you. We just did a formal handing over, which we think is in order for the purpose of the kickoff today. So without any other delay while they are completing that process, I'll just give an overview of what will take place for the rest of the morning. At this time, following we'll have the context and role of the participatory geospatial technologies for agricultural risk management, and Dr. Roberto Sandoval, FAO disaster risk management specialist and emergency focal point, and also FAO Caribbean agriculture drone participatory geospatial initiative lead. He will address us there, and then we will turn it over. Roberto will turn it over to Kim. Dr. Roberto turn over to Kim, Dr. Baldwin, who will do the introduction to unscrew aerial systems for environmental management. And Dr. Kim Baldwin, she is the proprietor of Marine Spatial Information Solutions, who is the one, which is the one conducting the training and facilitating all of the training for the next 12 weeks. Then she will then move into the participatory drone mapping and geospatial analysis training overview. And from there, we'll have a question and answer group discussion where persons will be able to ask questions and get clarity. And then she will also present the next steps with the review of the upcoming pilot and geospatial training schedule and participatory preparation activities for all of the modules. And then we'll have closing remarks and thanks by the Ministry of Agriculture focal point, Mrs. Debbie Daniel Williams, who will bring the curtains down by thanking and closing later on today, this afternoon. So without any other delay, Dr. Roberto Sandoval, I turn over to you, and then you will just flow to Dr. Kim, and then we just take it from there. Thank you all.
So good morning, everyone. Good morning, dear PS and colleagues from the ministry. Thanks again for allowing FAO to participate or to facilitate this very important process. So please allow me to over the next 15 minutes or so talk about briefly the context and the role of participatory GIS and tools for and technologies for risk management in agriculture. When I was updating this presentation that I delivered 2 years ago, I was very happy yesterday to actually be able to include photos or outputs from the Caribbean, because as you know, this initiative started in Dominica and St. Lucia. So when I gave the same presentation almost 2 years ago, I had to limit examples to those from Asia where all of this work started. But now I'm happy to actually be able to show some outputs from our region. So this panorama is from Mon Prosper in Dominica. I think it's one of the outputs of the drone team during the early parts of the training in Dominica. So we hope to be able to continue to support the work there and actually help them advance the integration or the mainstreaming of these technology into their different work streams in the ministry. So just a quick review of the context, why we are talking about integrating and learning about this technology in the first place. So we know that climate change is a risk driver, right? So you have disaster risks, which are influenced by hazards, by the degree of exposure and the vulnerability. Okay, so we know this already. But also, we know that climate change influences further, okay, the risk, whether it increases the risk or decreases the risk. Most of the time, it increases the risk. So it does drive changes in terms of like how risk is being more difficult to or more challenging to address. So I think this one is clear, and with these increased risks related to climate change and the increased risks related to disasters, including those that are not climate related, this in turn, make it more difficult for us to make timely and efficient management decisions, simply because we have additional variables to take into. And this is why technologies such as drones and new approaches such as participatory GIS can help us generate evidence-based information, more reliable information, more systematic information that could then help us hopefully make better decisions, as what PS was mentioning earlier. We also say in FAO, and whenever we we facilitate our disaster risk management in CCA trainings. That disaster risk management is the first line of defense to increase resilience against impacts of climate change, because disaster risk management are the things that you do and are concerned with managing risks over the short term and medium term. And we believe that if farmers and fishers cannot effectively manage the different disasters that they experience, every season, every year, then how would they be able to better prepare for the changes in rainfall or temperature 10 or 20 years from now? Because they would just be busy, trying to recover from one disaster after the other, every season, every year. Okay. I'm not gonna obviously lecture on this one. It takes 3 days to actually discuss this whole framework. But just to show here that when we talk about disaster risk management, which is also very much related to climate change adaptation, and that there are 14 globally accepted disaster risk management actions or processes. Participatory GIS and drone mapping and drones and satellite data, they all link, or they're all applicable to at least 12 of the 14 globally accepted DRM processes. So these are all here, but just to show that when it comes to DRR planning and monitoring, multi-hazard risk and vulnerability assessment, early warning, preparedness for response, all of these, of course, can benefit from drone-derived information, especially when it is integrated with participatory information from the field, from the communities, from the households. Damage assessments, also something that would benefit from it, livelihoods recovery and rehabilitation planning, and many other work streams. Okay, so this slide is just a rundown of the different innovation opportunities for agriculture that FAO has been documenting and analyzing since 2017. So of course, we have drones and satellite data. We published in 2018 sort of like compendium or compilation of the state of the art and the different applications in the agriculture sector. When it comes to using drones and satellite data, I wrote a chapter in this publication. I will share the link later, later today. And then there are also opportunities related to big data analytics, Internet of Things, which includes real-time alerts, mobile weather forecasts, and artificial intelligence. So crop disease detection and species identification. There are also publications by some colleagues from FAO produced over the past years. And I'm happy to note that, in addition to actually starting to do something and building capacities in terms of like how we use drones, satellite data, we also see opportunities for St. Vincent and the Grenadines to also tap the other two technologies, Internet of Things and artificial intelligence. We were there, for the colleagues who were not aware, there was an FAO mission in St. Vincent, I think 3 weeks ago, and where we explored the possibility of developing tools for risk monitoring for banana black sigatoka disease and for water and for the development of an irrigation management support tool. And if these things materialize, and then they would leverage heavily on Internet of Things and artificial intelligence. And then there's also an opportunity related to blockchains, but this is like a nascent development so far due to the resource requirements related to being able to operationalize blockchains, both in terms of like the data requirements and the infrastructure and the back end requirements. So far, what we see in the Caribbean, the low-hanging fruits are the most accessible opportunities would be number one, drones and satellite data, then followed by Internet of Things and artificial intelligence, especially nowadays that the access to technology is continuously, becoming cheaper. Software is now much cheaper, significantly cheaper from 5 years ago. It's also much more user friendly. Access to all sorts of data is also now easier because of the more the increased accessibility of the tools. Okay, so just a few examples of agriculture sector applications of drones and participatory GIS plus satellite data. PS Gittens has actually mentioned most of these already, but just to run through quickly, and I'm sure we all know these, but it would just be nice to frame these within the context of the work that we'll be doing over the next few months. Okay, so number one is the generation of high quality and high temporality data sets. When we say high temporality, it means on demand or near real time, meaning high temporal resolution. So when you need the data, you deploy a team to collect the data, and then you can process it, in just a few hours. Sometimes the main limit would be the speed of your internet connection or the speed of your computer. Okay, and this is especially useful when access to satellite imagery and other updated data sets is challenging. So you might notice here that I refer to data sets and not maps, because we believe that we look at drone outputs as not just maps. They go beyond producing nice maps. They really produce a number of data sets, whether these are maps or other pixel-based information that you can use in your decision making. Next set of examples include integrating pre-disaster and post-disaster data with community-generated and sectoral datasets. So examples include community-based hazard and resource maps, farm-level maps integrated with farmer registry data, and damage assessment maps, and many others. And then monitoring of production, hazard risks, and natural resources. Examples include crop counts and monitoring, crop water stress monitoring, disease monitoring to some extent, although I must note that that's quite an advanced application already, as you will learn over the next few weeks. Coastal erosion, sargassum, and many others. Okay, so just a few examples, mostly photographs from similar work we've facilitated in other countries. So I'll begin with showing examples from Asia, where this work started globally in FAO. And then we end with some examples from the Caribbean. So these are photographs from the drone training team for the drone training that we facilitated in Burma, in Myanmar, back in 2000. I think this is like 2017. It was a multi-year process, but I think it started around 2017. So you will see that when we talk about the training being rigorous and serious and having to be very focused and time consuming, we are serious about it, and we really mean it. Because flying drones, if you remove the data that you actually collect, the mere operations of flying drones has significant impacts when it comes to safety. Okay, so we cannot compromise on that. So this is why it's very important that we attend all of the sessions and really study all of the concepts, all of the applications. You will see on the top left a corner of the slide. These are the pilot trainings. Okay, the pilot training sessions. There we were much more strict. We require 20 hours of simulation time before they even start flying drones. So you have to sit on a simulator with your joystick, with your control pad, and you have to carry out, and you have to pass all of the simulation exercises and get a score of at least 70% to qualify for the next stage, which is actually actual flying. So we have two components there. We call it ground school and we have flight school. So this is the ground school. Basically, you see some photos on maintenance. There's a maintenance section, and then on the lower right side, lower right corner, I think this is a training session on NDVI mapping, which we will also, have some sort of like introduction as part of the different modules. Okay, these are just photos from the field during a flood assessment exercise, I think back in 2016. And this refers to one of the most practical applications of using drone data and integrating it with participatory GS or information from the community. So what you see here are high resolution drone maps of communities. And then we printed these on vinyl, on big vinyls, billboard size. And then you put a plastic sheet of paper. And then, plastic sheet. And then we asked then the communities then to annotate, to provide labels on which areas are experiencing increased resource pressure, for example, which areas of this sort of hazards, for example, experience erosion, wildfires, pest outbreaks, disease outbreaks, and many other things. And then we put everything together. We digitize the data that the communities have provided, and then we integrate it later into a thematic map that the ministry and the communities then use to design interventions. Here's another photo of from the same area where we use what you call an RTK drone, enabled drone, to carry out or to map a more topographically complex areas. You have an RTK drone also, although a quadcopter one there in St. Vincent as part of the land mapping project. So maybe we could also look into how to use that, more extensively. This is another data set that's generated routinely as part of drone mapping missions. It's called the digital surface model. And here you can see that you have here a digital surface model with what we call an 8 centimeter resolution with 5 meter contours. And this area is about 200 hectares, if I'm not mistaken. If you have to do this manually and map and generate all the contours manually, it would take you weeks and thousands of dollars to be able to do it. A drone provides you with a data set with reasonable quality that would then be able to allow you to design interventions in a more efficient manner. Okay. Just a few more examples of flood assessments and how we are using drones, or we have used drones for floods assessments and other disaster impact assessment. Okay, so just photos of drone imagery, showing flooded areas. And one of the most useful applications when it comes to damage assessments is what we call the use of drone data and extrapolating systematically sampled drone imagery with satellite data. So this image simply shows at the base layer, you have your common Google Earth layer, okay, the ones that we see when we play with our phones. And then there's a satellite flood layer, the red ones, the red pixels, and then the drone maps. And you can see here how we were able to use the drone data, the drone maps, overlay it with satellite maps, and actually later on in the process include information from households and communities affected to be able to design a response program, okay, in a relatively fast manner. So colleagues who are part of this training, you'll be seeing more of the same sets of slides over the next weeks or over the next months, because they are some of the most concrete examples that we have in terms of like extrapolation and damage assessment methodologies or tools for using drones. Okay. And beyond, of course, drones, as we know, they're useful not just for agriculture, but also for coastal resources management, for fisheries and aquaculture. So now we move on to applications for fisheries. So same approach, where possible, we we produce drone maps, print them big, put a plastic sheet, a clear plastic sheet, and then we ask communities to provide the information, and then we digitize. So here's a hazard and resource map of a fishing village. So you will see that on the base layer, you again have Google Earth, then you have a high resolution drone map, and then all of these drawings, nice drawings, they've been digitized already, you know, from the drawings or the inputs of the community members and the fishers. So the same principle applies if we have to do it for agriculture, for agriculture areas or inland and upland communities, as if we were to do it in coastal areas. It's just going to be more difficult and a bit more risky to mount mapping missions in coastal areas, especially if you're still trying in the process of upgrading your skills. But nonetheless, it's very useful and insightful exercise, and the products are things that can be useful as you plan for interventions, and it can also be very useful as base maps when to be used as a reference after when you're doing a disaster assessment, okay, because you'll have a pre-disaster and post-disaster assessment data already. Okay. Here's another map, similar map, but this time zoomed in. So you will see that the resolution is also quite good. You can see the boats, you can count the boats, you can produce other thematic layers, digital surface map, digital terrain models, as we call them, and then integrate all of those into and as part of a very comprehensive risk analysis or risk assessment. The solution is good already, but the drones that we have are newer, so it should be even better. This one's, I think, from 2019. Oh no, I think late 2018. Okay, and we move on to the Caribbean. I'll let Dr. Baldwin speak more about this over the next few minutes, but just a quick, just a quick few slides on what we've seen our colleagues in Dominica and in St. Lucia have actually been doing. So these are the policy and operations manual for both countries, the draft versions of screenshots of the covers of the operations manual. This is one of the first outputs because it's important, because this would guide safe and lawful use. More than the technical protocols for mapping and for analyzing data, the operations manual, the policy and operations manual is what will help ensure that all of the safety considerations are being considered before each and every flight. Aerodrome safety, weather conditions, protocols for communicating with the civil aviation authorities and others. Okay, this is the for St. Lucia, the St. Lucia drone team. They even have their own website where you could also request a drone flight. So you see there's a button there that you click, and then they have the process for requesting drone flights. They even have a subsection also on the services stuff that they do, including damage assessments and even going beyond agriculture. Okay, so these are the members of the team. Just some of the outputs from the trainings. I think during the St. Lucia training, they mapped over 1,000 hectares during the 2-month training in St. Lucia. Okay, another example from St. Lucia. And then we go to Dominica. Dominica is also quite interesting in terms of like how they have advanced the applications of drones. So here you will see a drone orthomosaic imagery, or a drone map, basically, and georeference farms in QGIS. So because Dominica, similar to St. Vincent, they also have their farmers registries, and with GPS points of the households. So this map basically shows the GPS points of the households overlaid with a drone map. And then they took it even further by integrating the farmer profiles or the farmers registries embedded within Kobo Toolbox and integrating it with the UAS data, with the drone map. So this is just a screenshot of the different parameters being collected as part of the farmers registry. So you have cultivated, catchment, farm village, acreage total, location, irrigation system, hazards, and everything. And then showing that it's actually integrated into drone map. This is ongoing work, but just to show the concrete potential, just to show concretely the potential of having drone data and participatory GS techniques, enabling this kind of work and taking it to the next level. I imagine that we would be doing something much more advanced or much more comprehensive in St. Vincent as part of in parallel or in complementary with the work that we're doing with NAMIS and upgrading the farmers registries. And now we would be able to integrate this with drone data and with even more accurate participatory GIS data. So some references, Dr. Baldwin would be referring to this and giving you the links over the next weeks. So again, on the left is the FAO flagship publication on drones for agriculture. I don't think there's an updated version. This is from 2018. And another publication, basically a SERMIS technical report that was written by Dr. Baldwin, Dr. McConney, and to some extent myself. So thanks everyone. Happy to answer questions if there are any, and we hope for a successful initiative. Over. Thanks.
Roberto, we don't have any questions, so you can continue. Pass over to Dr. Baldwin, and we can just flow.
Okay, let's see. And now is my screen sharing.
Yes, everything is clear.
Awesome. Okay, so thanks again, Roberto. Thank you to all the guests in the room and online. I'm really excited to be here today. We've done this, as I mentioned in the chat. Again, I'm really want to try to get everybody's email address so that I can set up a stakeholder group and keep people updated and abreast of project developments as we go along over the next couple months. So without any further ado, I just want to quickly say who I am. My name, for those of you that don't know me, is Dr. Kim Baldwin. I am from originally San Diego, California, which is actually where I am now. I was attending the GIS conference last week here, and I'm heading to St. Vincent the end of this week. So my background, for those of you that, again, that don't know me, is I did my master's, my PhD, and have taught at SERMIS for over 20-something years. I did my PhD in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So I do know many of the stakeholders in this project already. I've worked in St. Vincent. It's one of my favorite places for, gosh, back in those days, it was probably over close to 10 years. We did my PhD, which was setting up a participatory GIS in the country, mapping all the reefs and marine habitats from St. Vincent to Grenada. And then we did a marine spatial plan together with Sustainable Grenadines in Union Island. So I've got extensive history and background. I am a fisheries biologist by trade, but since 2020, I've shifted my focus working on national food security in Barbados when the pandemic hit, with Barbados government and the agricultural boards there. And then, as Roberto mentioned, I did a drones for agriculture course, which I developed back in 2020, 2021, and launched last year in St. Lucia and Dominica, which he showed you bits and pieces from. So I am really, really excited to be here. I am the director of my company as well, Marine Spatial Information Solutions, which I set up maybe after my PhD and working on many marine spatial plans. I realized there was a strong need in the region, especially teaching at SERMIS, the master's program in GIS, to strengthen the capacity of stakeholders, all levels from, communities to the nonprofits, the government agencies, and decision makers in geospatial and information technologies. And really my mission since then has been to work and provide training services to empower people and give them the skills and knowledge that they can actually effectively use GIS data. So in terms of drone mapping, as I mentioned, I was doing GIS mapping and GIS for over 20 years. And in 2015, 2015, drones really started getting hot on the scene. I immediately went out and got my commercial drone license because I saw that this was a way I could collect real-time imagery. For those of you that have been working with satellite imagery, again, back in the day when I was in St. Vincent, 2006 to 2008, I was working with forestry and fisheries and surveys and planning during that Hull and everybody in St. Vincent. We were using Google Earth and Landsat. We had these blurry images. So when I found out I could buy a $1,500 drone, put it up and get clear pictures and actually see what was going on, I jumped on the train immediately. At that point in time, I also was contracted by the Nature Conservancy and was trained to do drone mapping and launched my first drone training class for the government of Antigua Environmental Services Department in 2016. So since then, I have done, those of you that know me, I'm a nerd. I love science. I love research. I have been researching. At that point in time, the technology was great, like Roberto showed you, but it just wasn't appropriate for the Caribbean. It was too hard to use. It was too expensive. It didn't work offline. We have extreme environments, right? We've got wind and we've got humidity and we've got rain and or no power. We're working in remote places. So I did a lot of research to figure out how can these tools be re-leveraged or used for environmental management in the Caribbean, for our stakeholders, for our capacity needs and our limited resources. So I've spent a lot of time researching drones and GIS and that integration of how we can effectively use this information for decisions. So this project here, as I mentioned, is in St. Vincent this year. It's exciting because I am a Marine girl. It is going to be sort of this cross-cutting agricultural, terrestrial, coastal, marine, sort of this more ecosystem approach to disaster risk management applications. This is a really exciting class. And, most people, when they look at drone imagery, they just think it's pretty. And there's a lot you can glean just from an image like this, right? This is an image that you can see the turbidity. We could maybe in drone mapping or GIS software measure how far offshore the turbidity is going. You can see the reefs, etc. You can zoom in. This is a lot of good information, right? And then here's some pictures from the Grenadines. This was back in 2018 or 2018. I was doing a training in Grenada for Carfa in St. Lucia. And so I took some of these imageries, and the Grenadines, as you all know, here's Mopian. The water is so clear. The reefs are so shallow. It's really easy to, see things. And these are powerful images for education, outreach, talking to communities. Looking at this, you're able to see land use, planning, development. Maybe after a storm, you could see impacts just from an image. This is here in Barbados, just of farms, and so there's some great image. You could see some trash here, maybe some equipment, but the more you can zoom in with drone imagery. So Roberto talked about 8-centimeter resolution. Now we're getting less than 1 centimeter resolution. Some of those drones you have in that room, one of them is probably the best drone I've ever used in my life. It has an RTK module, which means it's survey grade, centimeter level accuracy, which means we can very quickly and easily monitor changes over time. We can also use drone imagery and GIS drone maps for outreach, education. This is just a tourist map in my local hometown here in San Diego, a hiking map. So, we're going to be learning all of these sort of applications that I'm showing you right now. By the end of this class, everybody in this class will easily be able to do these things. This is the exciting thing about this technology, is it's very user-friendly. I've trained fishermen in Grenada that could not read and write. They can barely use a smartphone to do WhatsApp testing. And they were able to successfully complete this program. So don't be worried if you're not super techie, but I am going to introduce you. We will be using apps. We will be getting into tech for those of you that are in the training. I don't want to hear, oh, I don't use this app. You will. You will. That is part of this. I will be holding your hand and we will become tech masters. So the different applications, search and rescue. Okay, these are I'm going to go through these pretty quick because we're going to dive deep into these over the class. But you know, it increases our access, our safety. You can have different sensors. This is a thermal sensor that you could have. We have got on that drone, the one in the black box there, we have got a multispectral sensor. So Roberto talked about plant health. We're going to be using AI tools, machine learning. We will be able to detect plant health with that drone. All right. We will be able to detect changes, let's say in beach profiles or erosion over time, accurately and efficiently and in real time. So surveillance and enforcement. So we're going to touch on all these. We obviously can't dive deep into each one of these applications, but depending on the national priorities and the team and the agency's interest, I will customize and develop this class to suit your needs, which is again why I asked for that training survey and for people's participation, especially at the beginning of this project, to understand where are we going, what data and information do we want to have as a case study, and to be able to show the ROI that this investment is going to be for the government and the country of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So mapping and monitoring is going to be the focus of this class. Habitat resource, space uses, threats, disaster risk management is the theme of this class. We will be touching on flooding, flood mapping, wildlife monitoring. We will talk about storms and damage assessments. The focus also will be precision agriculture. Agriculture is one of the main industries in the drone mapping world at this point in time. Drones for agriculture is very heavily used. You see them flying and spraying and all that. Well, the spraying drones are great, but you got to start with the information before you know where to spray, right? So we are not jumping to the Lamborghini. We're going to stay right now. Well, we got a Subaru and we got kind of like a Mercedes-Benz. All right, but we don't have the Lambo yet. So we got some pretty good drones here. So we are going to dive deep in this class. We are going to learn how to do a lot of analysis, and we're going to learn how to use AI tools to very quickly and efficiently understand crop health, damages, water quality, beach erosion. I mean, you guys be ready. We got a lot going on. Okay, so disaster risk management, real-time information, increasing safety, but also access. Everybody knows, especially like after the volcano, a hurricane, to get in to a place cost a lot of money, and it might not even be possible. And with drones, the game is completely changed. All right, we will be able, our goal is to map critical areas before any storm hits, so we could have the before and after. Disaster management, insurance claims, all of these things are easily going to be aided with the use of this technology and this project. So again, you know, people don't think about this, but site management applications, understanding or helping for planning and looking at changes or maybe progress on sites. These are all critical pieces of the puzzle. So the drones will allow us to collect easily and accurately collect data in a way that previously was not possible. It is minimally invasive, and when it is paired with geospatial tools and drone photogrammetry software, all of these things are included in this project. It is really going to help us to support real-time information making. So drone technology is great, but when it really gets powerful is when it is coupled with these, it's called the payload or the sensors that are on the bottom of it. So in that room, 3 of the drones have a regular RGB or a regular camera to take pictures, and it will provide centimeter level resolution pictures. But we can also collect data, and 95% of the applications that we need to do in St. Vincent will be able to be done with any of those drones in the room. We've got the 1 sort of like the boss drone, that's going to be with the RTK. And I know St. Vincent has another one because I shipped it to St. Vincent, Phantom 4 RTK. Those are the survey grade ones that really for that centimeter level accuracy that you would need, let's say, for planning land boundaries and, other construction, that sort of thing. The largest users in the world, as I mentioned, agriculture, construction. The primary limitation traditionally has been battery life. I have provided you with multiple batteries in that room. The good thing is the drones are getting more powerful each and every year and every iteration of drones. Again, that drone, the Mavic Enterprise that's in the box, we can map over 2 kilometers or up to, I'd say I've been getting about 1.5 kilometers squared per battery mapped with that. This has the capability to change agriculture in St. Vincent. It absolutely did in St. Lucia and Dominica. They mapped in the training period over 2,000 acres, and that was last year. I'm sure we are going to exceed that by far with these new drones. So the biggest criticism in the world typically is regulatory and policy environment. Again, we are going to have a strong focus on that in this class to make sure that we are applying and following international standards. So I'm not going to read out this whole list, but I just went over a lot of these. These are the main applications that I've worked with agencies over the last 7 years in the Caribbean to help them achieve data with drones. So I'm going to just quickly we're going to dive deep for the trainees in the room into all of this material in the next few weeks. But for those of you that are not maybe in the training, but I want to give an overview of sort of what this project and what we are going to do. So first, before we get into the project details, policy considerations. As I mentioned, globally, safety and security, all drone legislations that are made in the world, that is the main reason why they are in place, is safety and security. All right, the regulatory agencies in the world are the FAA, and the CAA is the British system, but in the Caribbean and St. Vincent and specifically the ECCAA, ECA, is our civil aviation body. And then you have a National Civil Aviation Department in St. Vincent as well. So like in Barbados, sometimes, and in Grenada, the head of, if they don't have a civil aviation, it's the police. In Barbados, the defense and security is the people that are the overseer. You also have to get licenses in St. Vincent and in Barbados for a telecom, for the RC, the remote controller. So there's different agencies. The policies aren't really in place in many countries in the world, especially in the Caribbean. But what we've been doing is sort of piecing together the existing policies and using it as a framework to manage drones in the meantime. So all around the world, the policies for drone flying are typically the same. As I mentioned, I did research for many years looking at all the global policies to figure out how can we develop a policy that is suitable for the Caribbean, but also make sure that we are not behind, that we are following above and beyond international standards. And so as those of you that know me, I'm pretty serious about data. I'm pretty serious about quality and standards. So to me, that was a very important policy. If I was going to develop a policy to train people in the Caribbean, I wanted to make sure no matter what ends up happening, when we develop our national policies, I want to make sure that we're above the bar, right? The people I'm training, that we are applying the best standards. And we're acting in a very professional, high quality way, not just for safety and security, but also for data, right? If you go out and you do things halfway, it doesn't make sense, right? You're collecting bad data. And if we want to inform decisions appropriately, we need to have good data. So drones in the world, weight restrictions. Typically a small UAS, is a drone that is more than 250 grams, but less than 55 pounds. So those are the type of drones, they have the really big ones and they have the really toy ones. The ones we're talking about here are the middle ones. All right. And so they usually regulate what time of day you can only fly during daylight hours. All over the world, typically you cannot fly any higher than 400 feet, and you need to stay a certain distance away from buildings and structures. All right. And then there's many no-fly. Most people are have heard of no-fly zones, right? Where you can't fly your drone. Typically, these are around airports, but also congested areas. You're not allowed to fly over highways because you don't want people to crash. Again, safety and security, privacy. These are all main reasons why drone policies exist. Also here in the United States, you cannot fly in national parks or other highly sensitive areas because of wildlife disturbances, etc., as well as correctional facilities. You can't fly near power plants or prisons, etc. So as I mentioned, in St. Vincent, you can go online. We're going to learn all this in the class, and you can see where the no-fly zones are, where are the areas that recreational flyers cannot go. And so there are, obviously, you can see, because St. Vincent has probably the most airports of any country in the entire Caribbean, most of the country, especially the Grenadines, not most of the countries, all of the Grenadines pretty much are in no-fly zones. And it only shows, which is very shocking to me, a very small circle around the international airport in St. Vincent in Argyle. So we were going to learn how to unlock these zones and how to fly in them. You say, well, unlock, there are no-fly zones. Well, the other thing in terms of the drone world is there are two different types of licenses and policies typically. So there's a recreational policies, which I just went over, but then there's commercial drone policies. These are for professionals that have proven that they have those safety protocols and procedural standard operating procedures in place. And if you do that, you can get a waiver to fly in the no-fly zones. So here in the United States, I have drone licenses in 12 countries. Here in the United States, I'm showing you the example for the FAA. I've got a recreational license, which you can see here in the left, and then I have on the left side. And then you need to get your person licensed, just like a car. I got to get my vehicle or my aircraft licensed. And then I can also get a commercial drone license. So just like a commercial truck license, which allows me to fly drones for work, for a professional area. It also would allow me in certain cases to get that exception to fly in those restricted areas. So once I do that, and I could request permission case by case, and this is the same thing in St. Vincent, where we would request permission to fly in these no-fly zones and get a permission by the Civil Aviation Authority. So in St. Vincent, let's talk about St. Vincent now. The licensing and recreational and commercial are licensed in St. Vincent by the NTRC, as well as the ECA, the Civil Aviation Eastern Caribbean. The regulations, now these are based on 2019. I did a training in Mystique for the Mystique company in St. Vincent. What Civil Aviation had told me at that point in time was that we must comply by the laws of the country and ECA, that you must write a letter to the Air Traffic Control Authority if you are going to be operating commercially, so professionally in the country, that you must, when you are flying, call the air traffic. This is the same in Barbados. We have to call ATC, and I'll find out when I get there what the new policies, if anything's changed. All right, we'll work on this as a class. So I will be having the students reach out. We're going to start building those networks amongst the correct agencies so that you can request these permissions. You know the contact people, and we can do this quickly, right? If there's a disaster, we don't want to have to wait a week. We want to be able to know who to call at the right time. The drone, again, in St. Vincent, it can't be over 400 feet above ground level. Again, if we were on the top of Soufriere, we could fly 400 feet from there. So it depends where your takeoff is, and you're not allowed to fly near the airports. All right, and then the last is you're not allowed to go over, carnival or stadiums or public gatherings without specific permission. All right. So the policies and procedures, what do you have to do to get a license in St. Vincent? You need to fill out an application for ECA, and you need to fill that out with all your information. You also, as I mentioned, need to fill out a NTRC form for your remote controller. That's a radio control license. All right, and then you get over here a permit, which Civil Aviation will give you a permit for your operations. And then if you needed to fly in the no-fly zone. So as I mentioned, I was working in Mystique. And I was actually mapping the runway with the Mystique company. So we had to get a letter from the air traffic control and civil aviation stating that we were allowed. And we had to send that to DJI, who then unlocked our drone. So we can do that. I will walk the country through this process, and you can get your drones permanently unlocked as well as a government agency. So we will learn how to do all of that. The next thing Roberto mentioned as part of this project, I've already drafted for you, and we will be fine-tuning and customizing it for your workflows, is a commercial operations manual, a policy. This is required in most countries to get that special permit to go in the no-fly zones. You have to show that you've got your own internal policies for safety, for your crew resource management, as well as your flight planning, your conduct, privacy, and all of the various logs. It's just like an airplane pilot, you guys. You know how they have to sign in and check checklists and sign off every day. And if there's an accident, they've got to hand those over to the CAA. It's the same thing in the drone world. So I'm going to train you how to do that, how we can have everything properly documented. Again, good news, everything's becoming electronic. A lot of this is becoming automated, where you can just download your drone logs. All right, so we're going to go over it. We're going to learn a lot about data. Data management is very important to me. I am a data stickler. I don't mess about with data. So we will be focusing a lot on data management. So drones, or UAS, it's the new word that came out last year. It's not unmanned, it's uncrewed aerial systems. But what does a drone comprise of? A drone comprises of the airframe or the aircraft. It is flown with an RC, or a remote control, or a ground control station, which is typically powered by a mobile device or a tablet. And you can see, as part of the project, for those Air2S, the smaller drones, you've got 3 iPads. And then you also have a built-in screen on the more fancy drone. And then the drones carry the payload, or a sensor, on the bottom of it. Most of the drones that you're seeing are just coming with a regular camera. But as I mentioned, you could add a thermal or other payloads. So there's 2 types of drones. There's a quadcopter and there's fixed wings. Now, back in the day, there were 2, well, I won't say back in the day because it hasn't been that many days, but you know, back a couple years ago, even, the benefits of a fixed wing was that you could get a large area in a really quick time, but it required high wind, and they were really expensive. They were anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000. And then the quadcopters were much cheaper, but the limitation was that you couldn't map that big of an area. They couldn't handle wind. Well, games changed. I was just at the GIS conference, and I looked at these huge fixed wing drones and talking to them. And like I said, I've been mapping with that brand new drone you guys have. By the way, there's only a few people in the world with that drone. It was really hard for me to get that drone. So nobody at the conference could believe I actually had it and that I've been flying with it. Not yours, mine. But what that drone can map is the equivalent of those fixed wings, okay, in one flight. So it was shocking that the price points are still really high on those big boys, but the one you have right there, it's still a very expensive drone. That's that's close to a $10,000 drone you're seeing in there. So that's a very nice drone. But the good thing is they're becoming more workhorse. They're becoming cheaper and doing more. So all these types of drones, to use them for mapping, requires software. It requires a computer, whether it's in your tablet, and some sort of system software to talk to the drone and to do the surveys, etc. So that's typically called drone mapping software. And you actually, as part of this project, have not 1, but 3 different drone mapping licenses. So there's various different types of sensors that I mentioned that you can get fixed or added on to the drones. There's the regular cameras with zoom, which is very good for inspections. There's thermal, there's payloads here on the right, top right there. That is a LiDAR drone. Then there's cinematography drones. So there's drones now made for every industry and application. Back in the day, there was 1 drone for everything. Now they're becoming very niche and specialized. The one in the bottom here is the new baby that I'm keep talking about here. That's the RTK multispectral drone, which is going to be the big workhorse, and seriously an amazing drone. So as I mentioned, the drone, the flight control, that we're going to be learning all of this. is flown with your phone or a remote control. That fancy drone has a built-in screen remote control, and it is how you operate and see what the drone's seeing and capture pictures. And it is powered by your remote control. And then the automated flight control is using drone survey and mapping software. And so this software will allow us to plan, fly, process, and analyze. And why I love this software here, Drone Deploy, is it's got all these machine learning and automated analysis tools that we are all going to be learning how to use. Data and pilots, everybody. All right, so we are going to learn how to use very quickly, identify plant health, very quickly use the NDVI to look at certain things. We can't dive deep in this class, but I will be giving you an introduction so that you can start practicing. And then hopefully maybe later on this year, we can do an intensive class that really gets into these advanced sensors and applications. So we will be learning this, how to go out, how to plan missions. So you can see the drone goes up, it flies a grid. It constantly, every few seconds, is taking a picture. And then the software, once it has multiple pictures of the same area, can stitch it together and create a 3D model without ground control points, without expensive survey equipment. And then what do you get? We can export it in a whole variety of ways, not just a map or a picture, but we can share it as a Google Earth file. We can share a 360 panorama photo via WhatsApp. All right. And we can download traditional GIS data. So I'm going to teach you all the different ways how to produce things. Okay. For agriculture, mostly, we will be focusing a bit on this crop scouting. And really how, I mean, this is why I need to work with you all to understand what your challenges are. And then I will help guide how we can use this technology to improve the efficiency of the workforce of the Ministry of Agriculture. So this is just an example here. I think this was from Brazil, showing how drone technology, they estimated after 6 months of applying it, helped 85% faster in terms of their work, their ROI. So again, assessing, so what was this? Plant health. We can also look at irrigation damages, flood damages, crop damages, drainage. We will be looking at, and be able to quantify accurately and effectively changes over time, whether it's on crops or disasters or beach monitoring. You can bring in, using this software, we're going to be doing all of these things. This is here in Barbados. When I was working with the government, and we were redeveloping old cane grounds for national food security during the pandemic. We realized we needed a lot more food and it needed to be better distributed about the country. So this was the type of maps that we were working with. Nothing is digitized. This is a map from like 1950 that somebody drew, and we were able to automatically bring in PDFs, not have to digitize them, and snap them into place to plan this equivalent area. So I'm going to teach you how to do all of that. And then here's the same map, with the Google Earth, overlaid in Google Earth. And you can see just here on the left, the difference in quality in terms of resolution. So the great thing is this technology now does something called live map, which means you don't need data, you don't need to be online. And as the drone's flying and mapping, it is stitching. If you want, I can also show you on those drones, we can do live YouTube streams on the drone. If there was a disaster, the team could be out and live streaming to everybody in the country or just specific government agencies, and everybody can see what the drone's seeing and be giving the team remote instructions about what to do during a disaster. So we're able to make real-time measurements. We're able to quantify information. And then Roberto, again, kept talking about digitizing. You could have a paper map and digitize, but what I'm going to show you in the participatory mapping segments is how we can use our iPads and just drop pins using very simple, this is from the app, take picture with the iPad and it will georeference or geotag and spatially locate where the picture was taken, but also use the drone map that we just flew to drop pins and make measurements and maybe talk to people and add in notes. And then the great thing is that is all in GIS already. You don't have to be a GIS person. We can then just integrate it or share it with the GIS people if they need it in GIS. So again, data quality, all of this drone data is extremely accurate. I spent a lot of years flying it, seeing what results came out, and then going out in the field and actually measuring things and cross-validating. This technology is like 99% accurate, and many times it's much more accurate than the traditional field surveys and interpolations that we have been doing over the years as scientists and environmental managers. Last but not least, we will be learning how to do 3D models and measurements. These are both examples, one on the right in Barbados of a farm, and the left is our one of our managing depots. Crop changes, as I mentioned, we're going to learn how to use the automated tools to understand plant health and variability, understand maybe where flooding and water quality is, but also look at changes over time. So here on the right, you can see this has got a scroller bar where we can see May 19th versus May 26th, and very quickly be able to see, so pre and post disaster. All right, how useful would this be? And then be able to measure in there and count in there, not in GIS, using a web map, and then export it into GIS. So really, for me, teaching GIS and knowing how hard, many of you are probably taught in that room, how hard it used to be, it is not hard anymore. Anybody can be a GIS person or lover. So this is another great example showing, like Roberto said, the digital surface elevation model. So the one on the left here is pigeon peas and pumpkin. And then on the right, you can see the elevation and how the red is higher and the blue is lower. So again, looking and being able to understand what's happening. And then here, I mean, look at that green, you can't see that, but when you turn on the plant health filter, you can really see maybe where the dead spots are. These are, you can see the rows. Here's a close-up of it as well. So it really helps. We're using it for cotton plant health emergence. Okay, so we're looking at, and these are emergence of like 5 centimeters. So you know, you can't see, and we were trying to quantify success rate, and could we use the drone to see something that was only 2 inches high? And sure enough, with the naked eye, you look on the left at the drone map and you can't see much, but when you put it through the plant health, look at those little white spots or yellow spots. Those are the unsuccessful areas. So again, sugarcane, working with the sugarcane farmers there, you can draw tools that don't just allow you to measure a distance in terms of a length of the field. It also gives you an elevation profile. So you can see the height of the cane here. So right here, you can see that the surface height, the slope, the vertical height, which is 0.5 meter tall. That's how tall this cane is. So it's not ready to harvest yet, right? So again, I learned when I was working there that sugarcane, how do they know there's problems? They're walking through the fields to try to find these holes or gaps. And once the gap gets bigger than, I think it was like 0.5 meter wide, that's a serious problem. They want a field inspector to go out there and see, is it an insect? What's the problem? So this allows us to very quickly identify those areas, drop pins, so that the field extension workers could go out there and very quickly go in and see what's happening. So this is just an example right there. Measuring the size, dropping a pin to get the location. We're there to see where I am. I'm above sea level. I'm up on the top of actually of a mountain in Barbados, 200 meters. We're really high in Barbados. And then here's the example here. So this is bigger than that minimum threshold. So identifying indicators and then knowing when to make decisions is also a very important project or part of this drone technology, right? You can go create all these pretty maps, but if you don't know how to use the data to inform your decisions, you're missing a big part of it. So we're going to introduce you to all of that. Like I said, hopefully we'll be able to do a more advanced class where I can really dive deep into this. But first, to master all the tools and technology and get an understanding of what's possible is the goal of this class, and get that commercial operations unit up and functioning. So again, I'm going to just breeze through these. Again, we're going to learn how to summarize. There's tools, again, for flagging things, creating issue reports, and seeing progress. So these are all automated reports that you just hit when you're done measuring things. And you can put, you know, the ministry's logo up in the top, export report, and a PDF report with the maps and all the annotations comes out. So here's another example, 0.5 meter resolution. You can choose what resolution do you want to export your contours out. And then also we will be doing at the second boot camp. And when I come back out, we'll be taking the drone data and the maps we created the first month and a half, and we will be participatory mapping, whether it's through ground field surveys with extension officers and people, farmers, or maybe communities talking about disasters. It's all going to depend on your case studies that we use, but I will be teaching you methods of how to map and successfully engage people with the drone technology. So here's some final products. This is, again, an example when I was working with BAMC in Barbados. We took the maps, we flew them. This was the area for redevelopment. You can see here's the map that is now digitized. Again, not through GIS. We just traced it in the drone mapping, overlaid the elevation, and then got the drone mapping technology to tell us what is the area, and then connected it to the table, like what Roberto showed you with Dominica, so that we could see what the old crop allotment used to be, and then plan now the development. So as I mentioned, the focus, even though we will not be developing a specific mapping and monitoring strategy for this class, we will be talking about and understanding how drones are not a one-time take a map, how you need to use it for basically your whole mapping and monitoring. And this is just an example to show, like in agriculture, it's being used all year long, right? You want to use it for your trials, you want to use it for planning, you want to use it for analysis and crop development, as well as harvesting, dry down, stockpiles, etc., insurance claims. So there's applications throughout the year that you could be using drones for all these various applications. So at the end of the day, this is going to be a huge savings in terms of time and energy, but also capacity and skills that are needed for agriculture in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So this training package here is my drone and geospatial training package. As I mentioned, we are going to be learning and setting up a team to plan, process, and create the information. So the training objectives: 1, we are going to demonstrate the various applications that drones poses for agricultural disaster risk management at demonstration sites chosen by you all in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I will provide training in flying, but also commercial operations, as well as data management and an introduction to geospatial analysis and using it for participatory mapping. We will be going out over the course. And so that's why this class is, I mean, all my classes are I've done a lot of trainings in St. Vincent. Those of you that have participated know they're very practical, they're very hands-on. So we will be doing this over the course. We will be setting up, and there will be 4 smaller teams because we've got 4 drones, right? And they will be working together to set up and map and monitor and collect changes over time, data over the next few months at demonstration sites. So this will include lots of different things. It will, besides just the data and the maps and sharing the maps, we will be producing reports, and we will also be producing a lot of education and outreach material. Because for all of my stakeholders, all of my agencies, keeping people, the fishers, the farmers, the average person in the country informed of how this technology can help and improve their livelihoods is absolutely a game changer, as well as buying support when you're out there, right? People get really excited about drones. So we're going to take advantage of everything we can in this project. So the overall goal of this, it's a 12-week project, not necessarily a 12 weeks of class, will be to implement a drone unit for the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, Fisheries, Rural Transportation, Transformation, Industry, and Labor in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And so this is just the typical structure of a drone unit. This is what we will be building out and developing over the players that we have here in the room and on the call. We will be learning how to fly safely and professionally. We will be finalizing and implementing a commercial operational policy and protocol for the government. this training includes all learning and all the procedures, all the logs, all the books, understanding the roles, and we will be practicing and reinforcing these. It's not just like we're going to learn them every day we go out. We're going to be following these protocols. We're going to be practicing. We're going to be dealing with the data. We're going to be using checklists. We're going to be storing the data. We're going to be sharing it to the data people. So again and again, these skills will be reinforced. And by the end, we will have a final working implementation of this operational protocol for the government. So as I mentioned, the template's done, but now I need to understand your workflows. I need to understand the players so that we can just adapt it to suit so that it is the most effective policy for the country. The second main component of this class will be conducting those mapping and monitoring surveys at the demonstration sites. So these are just some of the examples that the countries chose last year in St. Lucia and Dominica, but we will choose our own priorities this year based on your needs and stakeholders involved in the training. And then we will be generating a variety of geospatial information. The great thing about the software now is it now allows you to do measurements in 3D. So you can see here, we can map our areas, pop them up into 3D and actually measure. You can see here the yellow line, the height of the building. We can measure the volume of this hole. This was like an empty pool that I'm just showing it as an example that you can, of some of the analytical tools that are just drop down, easy to use tools. So this software is made for like construction workers and miners and, you know, people that are not tech savvy. They're not GIS people. So it's really easy to use. Again, we're going to be creating elevation 3D services. So Roberto showed you some great elevation models, but you can see here, this is just insane, the amount of resolution that is being produced at centimeter level resolution. So what are we going to do? We're going to first go out. We're going to learn to fly. When I get there for boot camp, we're going to set up our national mapping and monitoring sites. We're going to go out. We're going to survey. And we're going to create base maps. All right. We're going to have a lot of great information by next week, Friday, to be able to share and showcase already. Then over the course of the project, we will learn how to either integrate this with GIS, with Google Earth, or just use the web mapping tools that are built in to produce geospatial information. And then use that as well to create reports and do measurements, analyze things, flag issues, and share that information out, whether it's in reports, GIS data, etc. The other really exciting thing in this project is that besides getting a certification by me in all of these, the pilots and analysts will have participatory drone mapping GIS certificates, is you are all also, as part of the curriculum of my course, going to get a certification. I mean, if you pass the exams and do the work, obviously, in Drone Deploy. This is the world's largest mapping software. So they have special certification. So under this, it's incorporated into your learning. You will be taking the exams for the pilots will be drone pilot certified. The analyst will be agronomist certified, and the drone coordinator will become a drone program administrator, which you can proudly showcase and advertise that you have these certifications as well. So I will very briefly, for time's sake, I was going to stop somewhere for some questions, but I'm going to just keep going. We'll let the questions happen right after because I don't want to keep you guys much longer. It's a blended class. Class starts today, actually tomorrow in force for the pilots. I'll talk about the schedule and the calendar next. And in the country of St. Vincent, I will be coaching and supervising 8 pilots and 12 data analysts. You can see here on the left is the overall 12-week project time frame. We've already done the first part, and we're jumping into the training course now. I'm going to get into the details in a moment, but as I mentioned, there's 3 main modules, 3 main components, which is the flying and commercial operations, the mapping and monitoring strategies and surveys, as well as the geospatial and participatory mapping and information creation aspects. The class will be hosted in a blended format. We will be using, I developed during the pandemic and last year, an online training academy, which I offer a whole variety of courses. But in this training academy here, let's hope I can click on it. Yes, I can. So in the training academy, there are all kinds of classes, but what you are all going to be enrolled in are some of my bundles. So you can see here, this is the bundle. So the pilots will be taking a variety of classes, and unboxing your DJI drone fast and friendly, or fast and quickly, is tomorrow's class. So again, the pilots have one bundle and the geospatial analysts will be enrolled in another bundle of classes. These classes will be mixed with boot camps, and they will also be mixed with live Zoom classes like this. But I also have, because I learned a lot last year teaching, I have created a lot of shorter lessons on very specific things, so that if you want to know something about maintenance, you can just watch the little 10-minute maintenance video. So I'm trying to make this very user-friendly so that I can roll this out easily to more people over the coming months and years. So this class, this project is pretty much my gold standard. You are not just getting the virtual training, you are also getting not 1, but 2 boot camps. Okay, we are getting the drone mapping and commercial operations boot camp, and we're getting the geospatial participatory information creation boot camps. So when I'm there in person, boot camp's very hardcore. It's 5 full days, Monday through Friday, hands-on training. I need to emphasize that people need to be committed. If you know that you are going to have to take vacation, or you know something's coming up, please do not take somebody else's spot. These are very intensive programs, and every day, every week builds onto the next. So if you miss a week, you're only going to be holding yourself and the team back. So we can't really afford people to be, and once the class starts, there's no switching in and out. So today's sort of the last day that I need to know if somebody's going to switch or pull out, because class starts tomorrow. I'm enrolling everybody. Your homework, your drone work tonight is to enroll in the academy. So the first drone boot camp, as I mentioned, will be a heavy focus also on commercial operations. This first boot camp will be primarily with the pilots, but I will tell you there's 2 times I'm inviting the analysts to come in person and work with me and the pilots. So we will be focusing also on setting up your national monitoring sites, and that will be happening next week, Monday through Friday. Then I'm going to leave St. Vincent for a month. I'm going to go back to Barbados, and I'm going to allow the teams to practice their skills. Okay, I will be virtually coaching you and providing lessons online on mapping and monitoring, and you will be going out each week, flying and collecting data and practicing and understanding workflows and uploading data, and how the drone unit is going to basically function, and how we can implement this appropriately for the country. So by practicing each week, then we'll really have a good understanding of how do we want to design this drone unit, effectively. And then the last boot camp will be happening at the very end of August. I think it ends on September 1st. Oh yeah, it's down there. It will be focusing, as I mentioned, on those using the drone data to do field surveys, using the drone data for advanced flying techniques, but also those ground truthing, the farm field data, the local knowledge, working with stakeholders, mapping data, and then how to analyze using those analytic tools to create information. So that is going to be another intense, it's more going to be like a data boot camp, a little bit of field work, but more the using the data to create the information. Okay. So I cannot emphasize again and again and again, just because last year, I think the agencies, especially the bosses, did not understand I mean, the students said that they wish that they had study leave for the whole time. But this year I have asked that the pilots can dedicate Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the entire time, plus the boot camps, with me on this, and the analyst to participate approximately 1 to 2 days a week. So the way I have that set up is that on Monday, let's say with the pilots, let's say when I go away, because we just have this week and then boot camp and then when I go away. But the pilots, we will have our instruction and our online courses on Tuesday, planning and prep. And then Wednesday morning, they go out, guns blazing, fly those drones, collect the data, come back, have lunch, process data, upload data, manage data. And then Thursday will be some more lessons, but working with data people to manage and handle and do things with data. So that's sort of where I'm thinking as a good schedule for you to be planning over the next. I'm also want to ensure that we might not have class all day on those days, but I have a lot of studying, skills practice, exercises, and assignments that the team have to work on together during the class. So I'm not going to be talking for 8 hours a day during these. I might only be talking for 30 minutes and then have exercises I want you to be conducting during that. There's going to be a lot, like I mentioned, it's not going to be high tech, but the people participating must use technology. There will be a Google Calendar that I've already set up and a Slack channel for communications. So if you don't know what those are, don't worry, I'm sending a welcome pack to everybody, but I'm going to need everybody today to enroll in the academy and also to download these apps. So you can see here, there's been already a lot of questions from people about calendars and what is the plan. And you can see here, I've created 2 calendars for the training. So you have the pilot calendar and the analyst calendar for when each team needs to be available. So you can see here, okay, so the times, sorry, are in California time here. So I'm going to share this calendar with everybody so you can see. But the thing is, I need everybody to sign up, because what this will allow to do is if there's last minute changes or if there's anything, I have a video to walk you through how to add this to your phone. But if there's changes, you want to be updated in real time, right? So I've developed this nice little calendar to help us walk through. And I also, sorry, let me try to get out of here. And then the Slack channel. So I think, I don't know, if you're looking at this on a screen, you could scan this QR code. I can't remember what the QR code is. It might be to the Slack channel or the Training Academy. I think it's the Training Academy though. So don't worry, I'm sending you a welcome pack. So without this is the last slide, everybody. So what's happening next? 1, I need everybody to fill out that training assessment survey. This allows me to understand where are we starting from. You will be taking a similar survey at the end so we can see where we gone. All right. I will be sending a welcome pack to all the emails that I have received today. What I'm going to need everybody to do, whether you are a drone pilot or not, I highly encourage you to go to drkimbaldwin.com, sign up for my training academy. It's free. There are many free classes, and I would encourage everybody to watch a recent webinar I gave. You could do this today. It's called Mapping the Blue. It's how to use participatory UAS, the same classes approach, for coastal marine mapping. All right. And I give case studies from Belize, where I was earlier this year, in Barbados. So this will give you a really good introduction. There's also, for those of you that are not receiving the training, the pilots are receiving everything, but maybe the analysts or other people in the room, there's a lot of different cool free classes in there that you can just enroll in. Okay. Tomorrow, Tuesday and Wednesday, I need all of the pilots together to unbox these drones, to set them up, to set up the iPads, to download the apps, to set up your different email accounts and the DJI accounts. There's a whole, don't worry, I've got a whole class and little videos step by step by step. But basically it's going to be you guys in the room unboxing things and going over some safety basics, etc. You are also, all the pilots are going to obtain this week their recreational drone licenses. They will be taking exams online and getting their FAA commercial US drone license for recreational flying. Sorry, we can't do it with the ECHA because they don't have the test. But you're jumping in, and you know, the analysts, you can do it too. So that's Tuesday and Wednesday. And then Thursday will be our next big virtual class for both the pilots and the analysts. I'll be online tomorrow, don't worry, pilots, with you too. But our next formal lecture webinar will be on UAS commercial operations and that operational protocol and data management. So I need everybody to be attending and have Thursday marked off for at least a couple hours on Thursday. So I had everybody, and you'll see in the calendar, I think I blocked off for analysts to plan 4 to 5 hours on Thursdays. Some of it will be a little virtual, but it might just be doing assignments or watching an online lesson or doing things. But that is the time commitment I want you to have in your head, that maybe Thursdays, the whole day, analysts have set aside for drones. And then the Wednesdays, typically in the week, will be an optional, where the data people, if they have time, they can go out with the pilots on Wednesday and they can see what's happening and they could be the data collectors in the field. Because I really want you all to, even though I'm not focusing on training you per se as the pilot, I want you to understand the operations, especially the data workflows. So maybe you're not going to be out there all the time after the training, but during the training, I highly encourage the data people to be coming out with the pilots. All right, so not this week, analysts. I will be giving you an opportunity next week to come out with us on the Friday to see us in action once we've understand and they know what they're doing, right? So I will share that information as well in the welcome packet. But boot camp starts next Monday, and it's typically going to run all day from 8:45 to about 4:15, 4:30, depending on, you know, how long, if we're in the field. And, you know, sometimes I'm going to shoot for 4 o'clock end, but you know how things go. All right. So that's boot camp. That's for all the pilots all week, but also the analysts next week. I'm going to need you Tuesday morning for an in-person lecture. It will be recorded if you cannot attend, analysts, but I highly recommend you come so that we can meet and I can, you know, get to know everyone. And then Friday, you are invited, again, optionally, but I highly recommend that the analysts try to come out on Friday all day with us and see the teams in action and observe. So maybe you can't come all day, you can just come, but we'll keep you, but just keep that in mind. Next week, Friday, will be an opportunity for the analysts to come, but out in the field. But then in the afternoon, I would like the analysts with us in the classroom Friday afternoon to deal with data management and handling, so that when I leave St. Vincent, we know how to do things, so that when you guys spend the next month collecting data, we've got our groove, right? We've done it once. And then then you're going to do it on your own, right? Training wheels coming off after Kim's leaves. And then the team starts standing on their own. And then we'll go advanced when I come back for the next boot camp. So what I need to know today is, and what I'd like to discuss a little bit more, is the location of where this training is going to happen. We need to think about the training field. So the first day or two, we will be on a training field flying. So that ideally is right next to the conference room, somewhere very close to the conference room, so that we can just walk out and do the skills and walk in and not have to drive and waste time. But I'm flexible if that's not the site. The other thing that we want to start thinking about is those potential survey sites, the potential demonstration sites. We don't need to have them determined today. I just want people to start thinking about national projects, about other things that you need data for, right? So that we do this for a purpose. We're not just collecting data for, you know, training purposes. It's actually data you need for work. And then the last thing that I'd like to really mention is that we need to also have during the conference room access to computers. So either I'm going to bring a laptop, and we've got iPads, but we actually need desktop or laptop computers to upload data to the cloud. You can't do that from the iPad. So bringing the trainees, the pilots, if you have a laptop or work laptop or your own, bring it. We can work in teams of 2. So it's not, but we need to have some sort of, like in Dominica, they didn't even have one computer. So make sure we've got computers. We're going to need decent Wi-Fi. Drone team transportation is going to be needed Wednesday through Friday for field work. And then we'll ask catering needs to be packed in boxes every day. so that we can be flexible. Those caterers need to be told that this has to be on time. We can't be sitting, like, this is so action-packed, this boot camp. We can't sit around for a half hour waiting for the caterer. So we need to really, Conroy, have a good word with the caterer about providing packed lunches, and we're going to obviously tell them to come way earlier than they need to come. And last but not least, I need some assistance. I need to know about my drone licenses. I filled out the forms, as well as, is any transportation going to be provided to take me to and from my hotel every day, because I'm going to have a lot of drones with me too. And if not, I'll rent a car, but I just wanted to ask those questions. And now I will stop because I've run into your time. Okay, everyone. Any questions?
In terms of your document, that was sent last week. As soon as I got it, I printed it, PS signed off, and we sent it over. So today I will find out from NTRC. That shouldn't be a problem for you getting that sorted. In terms of transportation, that will be arranged for you to be picked up and dropped off for the entire time you're here for training. That is something we don't expect you to hire a vehicle, because it's part of our training program. So I will discuss it with the PS, and we'll see how we could assign a driver to take you backward and forward with all the equipment that you have.
Thank you.
I'm glad to see that you broke down in terms of the time frame. Although we would love to give them study time, we would like to give that amount of break, but currently within the ministry, we also have to do the ministry's work. So knowing the time frames is important, because the heads have committed to their staff having the time off. We are 100% committed, the ministry itself, but we also need to do the government business as well. So we needed to know the time frames as it goes. So that is everything. Anything else, Kim?
No, I think I just wanted to emphasize that all of the virtual classes will be recorded, and everything will be available at all points in time for the trainees on the training academy. So if there is some critical emergency one day and somebody can't attend a session, or they're sick, like last year we had people catch COVID, they will be able to tune in online. And I have made this that it could be done almost 100% virtually, obviously besides the flying. So I have thought about those considerations. But I would like to know, it's possible for the pilots to have the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Well, the pilots have, the heads have committed the time for the participants for the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The only day we really got caught out was when you requested for Friday and today, Monday. But the commitment has been made, so yes.
Okay, great. Thanks.
One of the participants, Littles, indicated that the link to access the webinar this morning didn't work. And that's true, because I tried it while I was sitting there to get the names of all the persons that were on. And when I put in the meeting password and the code, it kept telling me that it's incorrect.
Okay.
Is there any piece of software that we could try to see?
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Tim.
The final list that I got with the pilots and the analysts, that is final? I can send people enroll code today?
Well, we got a call this morning for one officer, Laban Osborne, who indicated, Osborne Laban? Yeah. He has indicated that he cannot give that commitment that is needed. So what we're doing, we're going to move a person who is on the geospatial mapping onto the drones. So that will be covered. And we already had someone, we asked if they were interested in the geospatial, and they said yes, which will support one of the persons who is a drone pilot. So that's been organized. So I will send that to you as soon as I get back to the office.
Perfect.
If anybody else dropping out, please tell us now.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I'm not, this class, the pilot class I sell for $5,000 a person, and the analyst class is $3,000, plus there's the boot camps. So that's just for the virtual training. So that just gives you an understanding of the intensity and actually, unique opportunity that people here have. So I'm just saying that so that people really do. If you know you're not going to be able to pull this, please give your spot up to somebody in country. The beauty is by the end of this, these people will be able to train other people. So if it is only 2 people at fisheries, let's just make sure that those 2 people are committed, because then they can go out with the drone and they can start training other people moving forward.
Noted.
Just a question. Is there anything that I could, like, say, for instance, in between time, like when I go home this evening, that I could look for, like a piece of software that I could look for to see how it operates? Or do I have to wait until the classes fully begin?
Well, the class begins tomorrow. So, but I'm going to have everybody today, I'm going to email you a document. I absolutely, as I mentioned, I will be sending you on the bottom of the screen here. There's a course that I would like everybody to watch if they've got time, but I would like everybody to sign up. The first assignment is to sign up for drkimbaldwin.com. Register, click one of the free classes and register. That is one of the pieces of software you're going to need, but I will be providing a document that I'm going to email to everybody right after this with some of the software that you need to start downloading. And we're going to talk about this in detail tomorrow, later this week, and next week. So also at the end of the boot camp next week, it just depends on your needs. I know when I had the planning meeting, we talked about involving media and letting them know. So if there is a media appearance, or, I mean, I would suggest that it happens at the end of the week, because then we have products to showcase. So that's something else to be thinking about as well, so that we can share that information. But yeah, I think by enrolling in that training academy, whether or not you're a pilot or an analyst, sign up for it, and you're going to see I've got things about getting started. I've got learn to fly. I'm going to have releasing more and more classes for free as well. There's probably about 4 or 5 free training courses on that website.
Kim, Little here.
Who is it?
Little.
Hi. I can't wait
Hi.
to
Sorry. The register you're speaking about is not the register that register you for the program that we got originally.
What are you talking about?
What are you? We got a registration when the
link?
letter was, the link was sent. You had us to register for it. Is not that register you're speaking about?
No. You can go to www.drkimbaldwin.com. It's my own website.
Okay then.
That's where you go. I'm going to send it to you, but yeah, see on the bottom of the screen here, drkimbaldwin.com. If you can still see my screen, that is what, or you could scan this QR code too. That'll give you all my links, but just click the Training Academy. And then you go in there and you'll see all these classes. Choose one that looks fun. I'm going to send you all this too in the email. But if you do that, then it'll say you have to register. Once you do that, I got you in my system. And I will be keeping everybody on top of things. But again, this is why I asked for the training pre-assessment survey as well, so that I can have a good, this is what I really need to make sure is that I have everybody's emails, because I will be allowing, there'll be a couple lectures throughout the 2 months that maybe we just want to update everybody, update the PS, update the heads. This is where we're at. So there will be occasionally times that other people can join in on the training. The last thing I would like to say, because this happens every time and I don't want to look like a you know what, is nobody else can attend the trainings but the people in the class during the boot camp. Nobody can sit in the room and watch and hang out. The IT guy can't jump in. and sit there and come out on the training field. I need to just have it be the pilots when we're out flying and we're out doing things, because it's so one-on-one and dedicated. I can't have distractions, and I do charge, and FAO has paid a per person rate for these training courses.
All right, so Kim, that means if I come in and sit down to look and see
You
if they're
can.
doing well. Oh, thank you.
I'm not saying the heads can't pop their head in and out, but what I'm saying is, like in Dominica, I had somebody that, you know, was part of educational services, and so he would try to come and sit in the lectures every day with the pilots. That's not cool.
Okay.
You know, you don't jump in. It is an online academy. I am having people sign release forms, but you are ensuring that you are not going to be exploiting this system and the fact that it's online by sharing it with your friends and family, and, you know, having other people jump in on this training as well. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, great. I'm also taking into account the fact that you said about the communication, and that's something we have to do with the public. So when they do see we're going out to fly, at least we advise them in advance and they know what the Ministry of Agriculture is doing. So in the meantime, by the
Yes.
end of the week, with your guidance, we will put something out once the secretary has agreed with the content.
I agree. That's a great idea. And again, like in Dominica and St. Lucia last year, when we were going to different agricultural districts, there are extension officers that knew the farmers in the area and had like WhatsApp groups or anything. And so we would let them know, hey, we're coming out to Mackey Valley today. We'll be mapping, and just trying to let, you know, or letting the GIS service know that that's what we are doing. And we should be also letting civil aviation. And again, we'll talk about that this week when the training starts tomorrow. You know, getting the permissions and letting them know where we're planning on going in general.
Okay, great, thanks. Any more questions?
Any more questions?
Where's the location of the training? Is it going to be in Kingstown, or is it somewhere else, or?
The training is in Kingstown. Today we're at French's house, but Tuesday, Wednesday, hopefully Thursday, we'll be at the BNTF headquarters office down Kingstown. So we'll be using their office, and I'm gonna try and see if I could secure it as a main place. It's a nice room. It has a whiteboard, big TV and everything, so they could use and work in there. So it's good for working.
Yeah, because we'll be going in and out during the boot camp. So we need to have a secure place to like have the batteries and the drone equipment while we're out flying, and then we come in and we process, etc. Great. And then the question is there any open field or area right near there to fly?
Right. So there's a field right next to the ministry, you know, between prep school.
Yeah.
Opposite, we have that area. I think it's one of the better areas that we could use.
Yeah, that could work. I know, I'm pretty sure I know exactly the area you're talking about.
Right. So there's there, or the closer to that is Victoria Park.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Right.
we will look. So I'm glad we have a couple options. That's good.
Right.
Like I say, it's just really for the training field the first day or two. After that, we are getting out there and we're going to be flying in the wild. We're going to be doing the sites from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We won't be in Kingston mapping, or Kingstown, sorry.
And then out in the field, one of the first areas which Karoma, Brown, and myself are working closely to get on this is the Langley Park strip, where they used to do a lot of aerial spraying from that site. So that's another area where we could start off from in the field, the Langley Park strip. Okay, Kim?
Yeah, I'm great. Is there any other questions, comments? FAO closing?
I'm gonna close now. I would like to thank everybody for attending this kickoff session regarding the drones and spatial mapping for the Ministry of Agriculture. This is something we have been long waiting for. It has been nearly 3 to 4 years we've been trying to get Kim here to give us this amount of training. And Kim, we are extremely grateful to have you on board to help build the skill sets of our officers within the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, Fisheries, Rural Transformation, Industry and Labor. This is an opportunity for us now to continue and enhance our digitization program, which we have embarked on since around 2019. Even before that, the ministry has been looking at drone technology and GIS and other geospatial technologies that could help improve the quality of the data and even the volume of data that we could collect in the agriculture and fishery sector. So I would like to say again, thank you very much. Thank you, FAO, for all the support and achieving this, especially Roberto, who has been working with us quite closely on this and has been one of the instrumental persons driving the process to help us to get this training. And all the participants, I wish you all the best as you embark on this training and your future application to enhance the sector. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks.